Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in. My name is Shalonda Lachelle. I am doing my update on my last chemo treatment. For those of you who are new to tuning into my channel, I was recently diagnosed with breast cancer late April, and it was confirmed in early May. And so I am sharing my journey as far as my treatment and everything that has been going on with me from that point on up until now. So my last video was probably a couple of weeks ago, and I'm doing this as an update. With this update, I'm going to share a few things. I want to talk about what my cold capping experience has been like. I want to talk about what side effects I've had since the second treatment. I'm also going to talk about genetic testing and my genetic test results, and any other things that has been going on with me in the last couple of weeks. So as I had told you all before in one of my last videos, if I'm feeling eerie, weird, or whatever, I will not post the video or do a video at that time. I'll wait until I'm feeling better. So the second treatment for me, the fatigue was probably magnified by 1,000. So the first treatment, I was tired, but I was just tired like throughout the first 2 days, but not the whole day. But this time I was so tired, like I felt like I lost 4 days. Like I had absolute no energy, couldn't really do a whole lot of anything. I just kind of just like chilled out a lot. I still wasn't experiencing any pain or anything like that, but I was just like so tired. I got tired walking in the grocery store, and I was just like, oh, I'm gonna have to get one of the carts that beep, because I couldn't even walk through the store. I was so tired. Luckily, I didn't have a whole lot of stuff to get. I was just in there getting a couple of things, and I was like, yeah, this is different. So yeah, probably for me, that was like the biggest thing. I also had this weird feeling as where I just felt like I wasn't myself. So I didn't need anything, didn't hurt or anything. I just felt the medication in my body, and that is really an issue for me. So that's probably the biggest thing that I'm dealing with through this whole process, is actually knowing that this medication is going into my body. I don't pump stuff in my body like that. So when it probably is also a mind thing too for me, just because I know it's in my body, it's probably messing with me. But that knowing that it's in my body and I can't do anything about it, that kind of really bothers me. So I just had a few moments where I'm just like, ugh, right, just weird. But then the other side effect I probably experienced is like my fingernails. My fingernails are really thin anyway, so they're thinner now. I realized that. So I've been taking my multivitamins and my hair and nail vitamins anyway, just to make sure, but I've realized that they're very, very extremely thin, more so than ever. So first thing, after the side effects, let's talk about one of the reasons why I introduced these videos with my name being Shalonda Lachelle. So Lachelle is my middle name, and it rarely gets any use, honestly. People probably don't even know what my middle name is, but going to my doctor's appointments, that's kind of how they call your name, which is the funniest thing to me. So they'll call me, they'll say Shalonda Lachelle, and for like first couple of times, I'm just like, who they calling? Like I didn't really pay attention to it. And so I was like, why do they do that? But they like literally say my first and my middle name. They don't say the last name, but they say my first and my middle name. So I kind of want to tailor this experience so that I can kind of make sure I journal it as it's happening. So that's one of the reasons why I introduced myself as Shalonda Lachelle, just because this is how my doctors and my nurses are actually referencing me when I go in for treatment, which I feel like is the most hilarious thing to me. But I also feel like it's pretty cool because, you know, my name is pretty cool. So I'm just like, all right, so people should know what my middle name is. So I just share my middle name with you all. It's just a little fun, goofy fact about me. So let's see, what's next? Cold capping update. I have actually started experiencing some hair shed. I guess not a whole lot from what I'm reading in my support groups and from what I'm reading on the cold cap instructions. Not a whole lot yet. so it's okay. And I think in one of my last videos, which by the way, I'm going to post the links of my previous videos in the bottom so that those who haven't actually watched them, you can watch them. I think I mentioned in one of my last videos that I expect to lose about 70% of my hair, which was definitely not correct. I expect to lose at least 30% of my hair. My goal is to keep at least 70% of my hair. So the shed that I've received just this past weekend, actually, not like a whole lot, it hasn't been going on ongoing, it just actually started, wasn't really so bad for me having 2 treatments. So if I go through this again in another 2 treatment increment, I think I should probably hit my goal. It wasn't too bad. Like, you can't tell, I can tell around my edges, or maybe you can tell, I'm not sure. But I have it pinned up right now, actually. But you can't tell really a whole lot, but I can. But again, my hair is very thick, so a couple of things about cold capping for those who are interested in doing it, or for those who know someone who may be interested in doing it. It's very important to cold cap before treatment, during treatment, and after treatment. And make sure you have actual dry ice. Dry ice, we are running into a shortage, so I'm hoping we can get the dry ice like I need to get it. The stores that we frequent have been having shortfalls for them, so hopefully we don't run into that as a big issue. But if we do, we'll just have to deal with it. So yeah, make sure whoever is cold capping, nice size cooler or nice cooler bag, dry ice. Make sure dry ice at least stays cold or frozen for 24, 48 hours. I think that's the max, 48 hours. And then make sure you're cold capping before. I think like 20 minutes recommended, 20 to 30 minutes recommended before your session, during your treatment, and then most importantly, after your treatment. I actually go into the next day, switching my caps out just to make sure that my head is cooling off a little bit. And so yeah, I started receiving some breakage or some shedding, and I just want to make sure that whatever, if I experience more than what I want or what my goal is, that I'm actually trying to do it the best way to try to minimize the shedding or the loss of hair. So that's that. And actually, I have a couple of pictures that I'm going to insert in so you can kind of see myself and my husband while we're doing treatment, while I'm getting my treatment with my cold cap on, to kind of see what it looks like. It's really interesting to me because at one of my first appointments, I had a young lady getting off the elevator and we were in passing, and she mentioned to me that I was the first Black person that she had actually seen cold capping, which it's a new thing for us, but in the support groups that I'm in, there's quite a few Black women that is actually doing this. So yay, kudos to us for jumping in on this bandwagon and trying to save our hair and not letting this dreadful disease destroy us all the way. So yeah, so she actually, and shout out to this lady because she actually was finishing up her last day of chemo when I was going in for my first day. So she was very helpful, very enthusiastic, very happy, and shedding her joy with me about her just ringing the bell and she was being done. So that was a good thing. So yes, let's see. The next thing I wanted to talk about was genetic testing. So I got my genetic test results back, and first let me just give you the history on me actually taking the genetic test. I didn't want to do it because I felt like I already got this, again, dreadful disease, this diagnosis, and so I just wanted it to be done and I wanted it to be over with. And I was not interested in taking the genetic test, like whatever. So they were just like, it's up to you, you don't have to take it, but you probably should think about taking it, talk to some people, talk to your family. So I met with a genetic counselor, and she went through my family tree with me about who had what cancers that I was aware of. And I shared that information with her, and I had also talked to family members on both sides of my family to try to determine who had what, and just in case what I would have. And so as it was determined, off the knowledge of the family that I spoke to and reached out to on both sides, that no one in my immediate family had breast cancer. However, the genetic test was still encouraged by my nurses and doctors to take. So I told them no originally, because I was like, whatever, just, are we gonna have the lumpectomy, the mastectomy, like what we gonna do? And the counselor and the nurse explained it to me best this way. Like, so right now, what's the issue for me is this right boobie over here, right? Right boob acting up, so this is the person that or this is the boob that I need to make sure that I take care of. Left boob is okay. So if I go ahead and treat right boob, right, and we just do the lumpectomy and the chemo, everything works fine, not an issue. Well, somewhere along the line, maybe the left boob might get a little bit jealous and like, oh, hey, you didn't pay me enough attention, so I'm gonna knock on your door, and guess what? Now it's my turn. And so that could actually happen. And so they explained it to me that if I do the genetic testing, it will actually help the doctors as well as myself know what the actual reoccurrence rate could be, which coincides with the Oncotype score that I actually took before, test that I took before too. And so if you remember about the Onco score, it basically helps determine reoccurrence rate as well as if your body will respond to chemo treatment. And I think it was the 0 to 15, your body would not respond to a very, very low score. So there would be no need for you to take chemo treatment. And then anything above 15, your body would respond to the treatment and could benefit from the medications. And so they would figure out what type of concoction or cocktail, thanks Kathy, that would work for you. And so in my case, my Onco score was a 16. Very, very low, right across the line, but still could benefit from chemo. So they explained all of that to me, and so they were just like, so the genetic test will tell you if you carried a breast cancer gene, right? So they kind of coincide together. Onco genetic test helps them figure out what's best, or what's the best plan to treat my situation. And so when they said that, I was just like, okay. So she's like, if you carry the actual breast cancer gene, then you will know before we actually plan your surgery, and we can make the actual best determination for whatever we want to do for your surgery. So, which means if it's just the right boob and I don't carry the breast cancer gene, then we could probably go ahead and be okay with doing a lumpectomy, which means remove the lump, the cancer out, get reconstructive surgery in there, make it all nice and pretty, and then whatever. And then you don't need to do anything to the left. Okay. Well, if I do carry the breast cancer gene, not so much. It's gonna be a different type of conversation. So that conversation would more so be like, so you carry the gene, so there is a strong possibility that reoccurrence may occur. And what we would probably want to do is like a bilateral mastectomy and then give you some implants or something like that, right? So for those of you who I may be grossing out, if there's some guys watching, I know my cousins watch, I thank y'all for doing so. Hope I'm not grossing y'all out too much, but hopefully this is a conversation that you can kind of share this information with your girls if need be, or your friends if need be. So after they explained the benefit of the genetic test for me, that's with surgery, first thing in my mind was, I don't want to have to go through this again. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. This is the most weirdest situation I've ever been in my life, my entire life. It's just weird. That was one thing that went to my mind. The other thing that went to my mind was the first thing that went to my mind the first time when they talked about genetic testing. First of all, in our culture, I'll just go ahead and say it, literally, we second guess everything because we immediately think somebody is going to do something to us. And Henrietta Flax went through my mind. The Tuskegee air experiment went through my mind. And I was just like, I don't want to do no genetic testing. I'm good on that. But I got a couple of friends and family members that are nurses. So I reached out to them and kind of had some questions for them. And I actually talked to some other family members, and they were just like, no, it's like a good thing to go ahead and do it because we need to know, right? We really need to know. And I kind of set all of those things aside and kind of try to get the good idea, or not the good idea, I'm sorry, kind of try to get the good benefit from doing the testing. And so I did all of that, and let me just say, I went ahead and decided to do genetic testing. 1. 2, if you know me and I'm at work, A through Z, I'm walking a straight line, pretty normal person, do everything pretty much by the book. Outside of work, so after 5 p.m., I'm probably the goofiest person that you would ever want to know. So I say that to say, when I was taking my first genetic test, they sent me a saliva kit, and I was supposed to do it myself and then send it back. So I jacked that saliva kit completely up. Like, I don't know if I put too much saliva in it or whatever, but I messed it up. So I had to do it again. So I should have had my test results back like probably 3 weeks ago, honestly. I just got them back last week because I had to do another one. So instead, they did a blood draw because the saliva kit was ruined. So I don't know what I did, but I'll just leave it at that I probably messed it up. So I got the results back to the genetic test last week. I got a call from my genetic counselor, and she's like, hey, Ms. McDaniel, this is Haley, your genetic counselor. Is this a good time? And I really hate when they say that, because it's just like, oh my goodness, what type of conversation is this going to be? So I just had to prep myself. I'm like, okay, either way it go, I agreed to have the test done, so I got to get the results. So I was like, yes, this is a good time. And so she shared with me that my results were negative. And I was so relieved that I dropped the phone, because since April or May, like, that's like the first phone call that I got from a doctor's office that did not end with, oh, well, we're going to have to do another test. Oh, well, you're going to have to take chemo. Oh, well, and I'm just like, ugh. So when she was like, it was negative, I was like, yay. I was so excited. I was so happy. And so let me explain what it being negative means. So with the genetic test being negative, it means that it wasn't spread through my family, 1, and 2, I don't have the gene, so I can't pass it on to my children or my grandkids, 2. So I have boys, and yes, men can get breast cancer. It's not very common, but they can get it. Also, if my boys have kids, then I could possibly pass it on to my grandchildren had I carried the gene. But I don't carry the gene, thank goodness. So that's a great thing for me, because now the left boobie can't get all jealous. The right boobie, we gonna get it taken care of, and we're gonna be done. So that's great. I'm very excited to share that. I also want to make sure that I stress, if you know somebody that is going through anything like this, or any type of testing or cancer related issue, and they encourage them to do genetic testing, do the genetic testing. I think I took like 9 to 12 panels. It's like a 9-12 panel test. And I did that because I needed to know, right? So I'm pretty good about being in the kids, meaning like my kids, nieces, nephews, and group text with them. So I kind of keep them updated on everything that's going on with me. Make sure that I encourage the girls to make sure that they get their screenings done and things like that. So I try to be very transparent. Some people might think that I'm sharing way too much information when it comes to the situation for me, but I think that we have not shared enough information, and we probably can prepare ourselves a little bit more. So I'm trying to do that. Again, I don't want to offend anyone. This is just what I'm trying to do on my journey. So that was that. So that was negative, which is a great thing. Real quick, I also want to talk about, my girlfriend has sent me this book, Tracy from Detroit. Thank you, Tracy. And so I was so tired while I was trying to read this book, I couldn't read it. And I am actually going to put, because I can't think of the name of it right now, but I'm going to put the link in my bio at the bottom so that you all can take a look at it and read it. I would encourage you to read it. It's great humor with this particular situation, and as I was reading it, like 3 to 4 pages, and then fall asleep and then wake up and read 3 to 4 pages again. It's about a young lady going through her breast cancer journey, and she shares it, right? She shares her journey, and she talks about a few things. And because I can't remember the name of the book right now off the top of my head, I'm not actually going to go too much into it, but I do want to make sure that I share that what we need to most importantly pay attention to is the deodorant that we use, the hair products that we use, because a lot of those things that they use to create extra shelf life for those products cause cancer. So I definitely learned a lot with reading that book, and it was actually very, very therapeutic for me, even more so than my videos, because this young lady was around the same age as I am, and she had to figure out a way to find humor to get herself through her issue, and I definitely can respect that because it's exactly what I'm trying to do at this point. Let's see. I've had a few of my relatives reach out to me. By the way, cousin Black, let me tell you, if you're watching this video, I tried to do the fast with the vegetables and the fruit. It probably lasted 2 days, and then I was extremely hungry. And so we're gonna have to figure out another time to do that. But if you're still doing it, good for you. I'm gonna have to jump on the bandwagon again and try it again. Because for me, yeah, I lasted 2 days, so I'm sadly ashamed to say that, but I'm honest. And then I had my younger cousins. I had a couple of my younger cousins reaching out to me, asking where was my next video, what was my update. And it took me a long time to actually do the update because, again, I was so tired. I lost so much time in so many days. I got so much stuff going on that I'm working on myself during this process that I wasn't able to do just because I lost like those 3 to 4 days. I say 3 to 4 days. My husband said 2 to 3 days, but I lost some days and I was just like, I can't do anything. I didn't have any energy. So thank you, Michael and Tierra, for reaching out to me. I appreciate y'all. I want to also thank my cousin Sierra for bringing my Aunt Melba out to see me this past weekend. So for you all who may not know, sometimes family members don't have the best relationships, but let me tell you, my aunt came out here this past weekend. And we had a wonderful time. So we've been known to go back and forth from time to time and where we don't get along, but she came out this past weekend and spoiled the mess out of me, like literally. I told her that I was fatigued and I was tired, but I was doing okay. So she came with all kind of salads, fruit, vegetables, tea, herbs. Like I'm looking on my counter, which is why I'm looking back and forth. And she just brought like all kind of stuff. Then she made me like this crazy awesome kale and turkey, which was phenomenal, and some lasagna, some turkey lasagna. It was good. So we did that over the weekend. It was a really good time, so I appreciate that. I didn't have to do anything. So thank you guys for coming, looking after me. I know my husband thank you a lot too, and I also want to say thank you to my mom and my mother-in-law, because they were over these last couple of weeks as well. My mother-in-law was in town, and my mom came over, and they were looking after me and checking in and making sure everything was okay. So my husband is probably a little bit more spoiled than I am actually at this point, because he is actually kind of getting over, but I'm repping his shirt, so I'm not gonna say too much. I'm gonna let him go ahead and ride and take this because he's a trooper, so he's been hanging in there, so he deserves a break because they've been taking care of him. And I think that's it. So my next, which will be my third, my next treatment is actually this week in a few days. So it's so funny because by the time you get your energy back and everything starts going back to normal, that's the time where it's almost time for you to get back in and go back out. I've actually been trying to record this video for like the last 3 days. So now that this is all done, that's a good thing. So after my next video, again, depending on how long it takes me to keep that energy going, I'll be posting another one. And then this next treatment that's coming up is my third AC treatment. And then after, I have one more AC, and then I'll go on to Taxol, which I have 4 treatments of Taxol. I'm hoping that the universe and the gods look after me and they say I don't need to take all of them. That would be perfectly fine for me, especially since the genetics test results are in and everything like that. Like, I just want to get this done and over with. But I'm in it for the long haul, so if you have any friends or family that is going through this, make sure you encourage them to share their information that they're getting from their doctors. Actually make sure you ask if they need someone to go to the doctor with them, because they may be devastated and not be able to actually process the information that's being shared with them. And try to make sure you keep the lines of communication open and check in on your strongest people. Even your strongest people need somebody to check in on them. And until my next video, thank you all for listening, tuning in. Please make sure that you like, comment, and share, and please subscribe to my channel. And then I'll see you on the next video.